I'm Spence Graham with Real Digital Media, a Stratacash company, and chairman of the Digital Signage Federation. And you're watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey, this is Kim Frank, president of Geopath, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey, this is Nancy Blanchard at Nancy Blanchard, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Greetings from Kansas City. It's Renee Benson at AV Renee KC. You are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hello, this is Murphy Daly at Written by Murphy. I'm an AV veteran and IT PM and author, and you are joining us for the AV Life.
Hi, this is James, the writer for the Higher Ed AV digital magazine, IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert from Rutgers University at the AV Life Pod, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life. Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you are listening to this podcast, and welcome to the AV Life. We have our awesome crew here. If you're watching, you could see our Hollywood squares. We actually have a perfect grid today, and James is my Alice this week, so I'm sorry, James, but
Someone has to be.
And we've got a couple of wonderful guests with us as well tonight. But first I want to check in with the crew. As always, I ask, how you all doing?
We are alive.
We're here.
This is a good thing.
Good.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in New Jersey. So I will and just put the weather done and out there as we always talk about. So it's done.
It's only talked about when Joe's here.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I feel like I got to do that. Oh, and by the way, Joe Way has a book. So there you go. I feel like I'm contractually obligated to bring that up when he's not here.
Are you being paid? Or are you getting some type of commission for this?
No. we do this for the good of the good of AV, right? That's
right.
The good of AV.
The good of AV.
For some reason, Joe always gets all the plugs, but then he always gets all the blame every week. So whatever goes wrong is always Joe Way's fault.
Yeah, he's coming. He's got it coming.
Yeah.
You take the good, you take the bad, right? That's
right.
How it works. Yeah. So all right, great. First I'd like to introduce a previously from the AV Life from quite some time ago, the infamous Gabe Maranta. Hey, how you doing, Gabe?
Gabe.
I'm doing good. How you guys doing? It's good to be back.
Good to see you.
Likewise, it's good to see all of you.
We are very glad to have you back after a little bit of a hiatus. And I know things, things changed for you a little bit within Zoom. So, you're a wanted man.
Nah, just busy, which is always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, a good in a good way, wanted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, welcome and glad to have you back.
So good to see you.
Thank you. So good to see you, Renee. It's been a while.
I see you on Twitter, but I'm like, I missed hanging out with him.
It's been a while. It's been a while for all of us. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what's behind your head.
Behind my head?
Yeah, behind your head, Gabe.
I have a schematic of Tesla. I have some books on floating shelves and a globe that you can't really see. Yeah.
Got that nice haze, background haze going on there.
That's one of those Zoom backgrounds, isn't it?
No, this is a Chris Neto special. I worked with Chris on helping me, tune up my, Chris is the master.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he has a nice setup for his. Yeah. So, and then our other guest this evening, and also our AV rock star for this episode, the newlywed Erica Williams.
Yay! Yeah! Congratulations!
How are you, Erica? Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you. Glad to kind of finally make our schedules work and get you on the show. You've been talked about and highly requested to be here. So we're glad that you were able to join us tonight. So
it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So thank you. And So yeah, just as a piece for those who maybe are listening to the AV Life for one of the first times, we've started this new section called AV Rockstar. Well, actually, a brainchild of James and the rest of the crew as well. So we are highlighting and turning the spotlight on different members of the AV community, and there are some of us who are in the spotlight more than others. So it's time to make sure that everyone gets their time and that everyone gets to see the awesome things that they're doing and what they're about. So Erica, I'm gonna turn it over to you. If you could let us know like what you've been up to, like what projects you got going on, like so that way people could see what you've been doing, and this is your turn in the spotlight.
Okay, well, I mean that's pretty loaded. I definitely.
Well, you can start. You can start with a little bit about yourself and like what you do on a regular basis, and then go from there.
Okay. So obviously my name's Erica Williams. My Twitter handle's HaircutFW if you want to follow me. I talk about a lot of stuff that's not related to AV, just forewarning. But I work at an engineering firm called Henderson Engineers based out of Kansas City here. I'm located in Kansas City. And it's funny sometimes because we're an engineering firm. We do a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing stuff, but we also have a technology sector. And people sometimes think that I work with the design, like the engineers and the designers who are the ones doing all the awesome stuff at all these crazy stadiums, but that's not actually the truth. I support the systems that they need to be able to create those awesome designs. So you could call it in-house integrator. Mostly it's just in-house support to do that stuff. So we are a nationwide firm. We have 12 offices now. COVID's made things weird. And we have about 72 conference rooms across the country. So I'm responsible for making sure that those conference rooms turn on every day, that they work every day, and that people can communicate with each other. Obviously with COVID, that's a little different. So now it's almost 1,000 employees across the country, making sure that they can all connect with each other and communicate with each other. So that's been really interesting. And I think it's funny that Gabe's here because we're a Zoom shop, and I have learned Zoom like the back of my hand over the last year. So every day I'm dealing with Zoom. And it's especially important now because we're getting ready to switch to Zoom Phone. We've been on a traditional PBX system, and we've decided, since Zoom meetings have been going so well, our company adopted to it so well, that we were over halfway point in our contract, and we thought, you know what, Zoom Phone, let's do this. It's also nice because we are a virtual desktop environment, and Zoom is one of the only UC companies that provides a VDI specific software, which is very, very important. Very important. If you ever go into a virtual environment, please make sure that you check and make sure that, oh, my cat is getting in the closet. Please make sure that that your platforms are compatible with VDI, or it'll be difficult. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. The past, I'd say 3 months, it's been nothing but creating call queues and creating training and all that other stuff. Traditional support. And now that we're starting to talk about opening the offices, it's all about Zoom rooms. So we've been having some manufacturers come in and help us out with demo equipment and stuff like that. And yeah, long story short, it's communication and collaboration. An engineering firm, it's really, really important that people who can talk to each other, and they can share their Revit models or share their AutoCAD models, and not just through something like BIM 360. You hop on a call, you need to be able to share your screen, and you need to be able to see what somebody is sharing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of knowing networking that comes into it, and making sure that stuff is stable. And there's a lot of basic IT support to make sure that your audio is not cutting in and out, or it's working, period, because there was just a Windows update and now your drivers are screwed up, so.
Did you just say the evil word IT?
Yes. You and I are on the same side, though, man.
Yes,
I started out in IT. When I started in IT 7 years ago, I walked in the door and said, I want to do this. I learned everything on the job, and have just kind of grown. And moving from IT to AV, you really see how important that connection is, because now the way things are with how cloud-based the world is becoming, you have to know about networking, you have to know that stuff. And it's just, they go hand in hand.
And see, that's where like James, Frank, and yourself are really good for this, is because you're opening up the different sites to it. You know, you're saying, hey, we're showing you from a different angle what we're seeing and what's going on. So that's great.
Yeah. And before I got into the role I'm in now, my main responsibility when we were in the offices was I would go to conference rooms all day long, and I would go in and I would set up the meetings and I would make sure the stuff worked. And if something was wrong, I needed to know how to run driver updates on a Windows PC. I needed to know how to adjust audio settings that, in the system settings. I needed to know how to do all of this stuff that is IT based, because you have your full AV diagram and all your wires and everything. But when it comes to what the meeting is running off of, it's a PC, and you got to know how to work that. So
I got something. I don't mean to take over Tim's show here, but you said something.
Well, Joe's not here, so somebody
Joe's not here.
So
you said something that really caught my ear, and if you wouldn't mind to explain it a little more, is you said you came in here not knowing IT, and you told them you want to do this, and you learn on the job. Explain that. 'Cause that's awesome.
Yeah. So my first entryway into it, I was living in Columbia. Actually, my first job was for the athletics department at the University of Missouri. So I was working on the actual stadiums and like the basketball arena and all that stuff. Obviously, it started out a lot smaller, but I was determined. I always had a knack for it. My dad does very similar thing, and I just walked in and I said, I know I don't have the skill set, but if you're willing to teach me, then I'll learn it. And they were at a point where they had the time and the space. I mean, that's a big contributing factor to those situations. They had the time and the space, and they were able to do it. So I started out learning how to capture a ghost image, like old school Windows, capture a ghost image and deploy it. And then moving into Windows MDT and creating driver packs and like the very, very basic stuff. And handling cell phone upgrades and just very entry level stuff. And they taught it all to me on the job. And also part of it too is that you have to be willing to put in the work off hours. So it's me coming home and hopping onto any kind of CompTIA website I can find, so I can start studying for the A+ certification and doing all that kind of stuff, like the little technical things that you need, because IT is very interesting. It's a finesse. People don't think of it like that, but it really is kind of an art. It's a finesse, and it's not a joke that when you walk into a room or walk into somebody's cube to fix something, they just say, oh, well, you just walked in and it was like magic. And it's like, no, it's because you just have a finesse, you know how to work it, but you still need to be able to have the technical knowledge and the technical know-how to know how to Google the problem.
Here's the thing about magic. Here's the thing about magic. Magic isn't magical either. Magic is a lot of work and practice.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I mean, I got my degree from Google. I'm not gonna lie, and just learning. And it's not just Googling the answers and finding a forum. It's Googling like, what resources do I need? What classes do I need to take, and putting in the hours to do it. And so, yeah, that's just what I did. And now I'm an AV.
For the magic excuse, like it's all magic.
right, yeah.
That's why Erica's a rock star.
when I was still doing when I started at Henderson, I was just doing service desk stuff, and I would go up to somebody's cube, and just became an ongoing joke that I would come up and fix, and I would like do the Salt Bay thing, just like, got it, good to go. That's my little IT magic there for you.
Oh yeah,
everyone said I always had the technician's touch. Like I would show up and things would just magically work, and I'm like, well, I don't know, it's just timing wise. I think it was always just for me. It was just never like I didn't do anything special. It just works.
Oh yeah, for sure. My parents always joke about it, and they always say, "Oh, you were meant to be in technology." Because when I was younger, my sister and I both got computers one year for Christmas, and obviously, if you follow me on Twitter, you would know by now that I basically don't sleep and all I do is do stuff on the internet. So I was in junior high and my computer was in my room. And so I would get up and I would be up all night and doing stuff. And my parents found out and they got super mad. So my dad would try to put all these like locks on it and safety stuff on it. And I always found a way around it. And honestly, it was as simple as booting in safe mode. It was really that simple, but and it finally got to the point that they would take the power cord out of my CPU every night, or they would only give it to me for certain hours because they didn't want me on it and they knew that I could get around it. So now they're like, you were just destined to be in this. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's definitely most IT people are like that. They're always tinkering and doing things. So that's great. And that's why you're a rock star.
Yes, exactly, Erica.
Add that Erica and I are co-chairs on the Avixa Women's Council for the Kansas City region. Unfortunately, we decided to do it in the heart of a pandemic.
Terrible idea, honestly, but
as soon as we can get out and about very soon, we're going to have our first event and we'll make sure you all know about it and support us. But that's
gonna be great.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to pick her as our rock star. So thank you for being here and giving your story, because
thank you.
She could talk for an hour about what she does.
Great.
We've got I could sit here and listen to all those stories, we'll definitely have to have you back, Erica, for some
sure.
part two of story times and things like that. We also
Erica has the best stories, all of them, all the time. She's like amazing.
Yeah, definitely follow her on Twitter. I like a lot of the things, but it's non-AV related, but a lot of it, there's a lot of thought always in the tweets. I will say that. You don't just throw things out there. There's always thought.
It's passion. That's what she has, is she has passion in her tweets.
I was wondering what was
at a bar the other night for like 2 hours together. I was so excited to be out at a bar with a friend.
Yeah. Was jealous.
Yeah. I was like, I haven't been in this bar.
What's a bar?
Yeah, what's a bar? Yeah.
It is.
I've heard of these things from a long gone era.
Yeah. Us
Our
East
forefathers.
Coasters have a different feeling about bars and indoor spaces right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of Twitter, and we're gonna Murphy, we're gonna hang on for your PM minute just because I don't want to lose Gabe. So
I'll be the follow-up act. He'll be my opening.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So don't screw it up, Gabe.
I don't know. This is tough.
So Gabe, you had put out a tweet a couple days ago, and actually our founder, I guess you could say, Corey Moss, had responded that it was a great topic for us to reach out on, which it is. So if you just give us a little background on what you put out there. And
absolutely. So when I first transitioned to the AV industry from just an audio engineer working in recording studios, one of my first managers, John, well, I'm not going to say his full name. I'm not sure he'd like that, but I was about to. It's just like habit. You're just about to roll into it. He, I was overthinking things too much. I'm an audio guy, so I'm thinking audio, and audio is always my priority. Video is just like, whatever. And funny, I work for a video conference company, but it's just, he was just like, stop overthinking it. He was like, the basics, signal flow. AV doesn't stand for audio visual. And I looked at him like he was like, what, are you stupid? And he was like, AV just stands for, adapting to variables. There's always going to be a problem and you always have to adapt to it. You always have to think about what's the best way to troubleshoot this problem. And then it was like slowly, like, yeah, I got it. Like everything just sort of clicked after that. Everything was just like fell into place. And then I just started realizing it's not only applies to AV industry, but and work, but it applies to just life, especially if you look at everything that's happened the past, year with the pandemic. And then if you look back at the arc of most of our careers, 97% of people in the AV industry say they didn't want to be in AV. They just fell into it. That in itself is adapting to whatever variable was put in front of you. However it is that you started your career, you didn't start off with the intention of being an AV, but here you are, you ended up in it. Most of us are thriving in it in some capacity for however many years, you know, myself over 20 years now, some others over 20 years, over 30, 40, whatever it is. And we've all been in it. So life is, it's all about adapting to whatever's in front of you, and not looking at it as a negative, and looking at it as, how can I evolve from this? How can I change? How can I make myself better? How can I still make myself valuable to this? I see a lot of comments, both on Twitter and LinkedIn, that I try to sometimes shy away from, because I don't want to beat people down, where I see people saying, well, the AV industry doesn't care about us. It's going to it. No more programmers, no more this, no more that. I'm like, so what can you do? How can you adapt? That's it. Do you just roll over and die and just say, I'm done? Like, you have to do something. Like, what is it that you're going to do? Like, you have to figure that out. If you've seen already that the industry, and I'm using air quotes for the people listening and not watching, because I don't believe that it's true that the entire industry doesn't care. You have to think about putting yourself forward. For myself, my decisions were always based off of what's best for my family. What am I doing? What's best for my family? What can I do? Everyone's in a different situation, whether it's themselves, not a family. Some people are divorced, you know, just have kids, single parent. You have to think about what is best for your situation. I don't think that it's best for people to like roll over and die. Life is about variables. Life is about adapting. Life is about evolving. Everything, you know, we all get down. We all, it happens, you know, you get into whatever it's these slumps, whether it's momentary, whether it's prolonged, you get into these slumps, and hopefully you can come out of it. And then it's about evolving. So, you know, John gave me this advice about AV, but I don't think he realized, and I kept in touch with him for a few years after that. We lost touch just over time. But I don't think he realized that this advice to me was so applicable. He was helping me in the AV industry, but it actually helped me in life, period, where it was so profound. I just didn't realize it at that time, that I was able to look back and be like, you know, I was able to make decisions based off of, okay, what's best? This job is going to pay me more money, but this one has more upward mobility at a time and more stability, which I need, you know, the benefits, family, 401k, you know, I have more of a steady job hours wise, whatever. I can be home at a decent time, not be on the road 24/7, which I did for a long time. You know, it's about all those different things. You know, how do you adapt to the variables that are placed in front of you? It's, you know, it's different for everybody. Every single person, we have a different circumstance. What worked for me will not work for you. It's, you know, and I realize that I'm sort of currently right now in my career, I'm in a very, you know, blessed situation where I've been extremely fortunate, and believe me, I don't take that for granted. So it's easy to say now, but it wasn't always this easy. I wasn't always where I'm at now. And it was a lot of hard decisions, a lot of introspection, a lot of, oh boy, I hope this works. And, you know, even with Zoom, I'm an AV hardware guy coming to work for a software company. I hope this works out. I have no idea. You know, 4 years ago, however long it's been, it's like, I don't know that this is going to work. It's like, we'll see. It's just, you know, it's about making the best informed decision and not looking at decisions as bad decisions, just either misinformed decisions or a learning experience, and adapting. You know, I think that's the one thing that people have to stop doing, is beating themselves down. The AV industry doesn't care about me. And now I'm going to get off my horse.
No, but Gabe, that was so well said though. Like that's, I completely agree with that. There are decisions that I've made as well over my career. You know, I'm 10 years in higher ed, but you know, I've been gainfully employed for like 20 years, you know, it's, you know, I've made decisions based on, you know, what's good, like you said, what's good for my family, what's good for me, what's good for, you know, everything else. So it's, and then, yes, I mean, adapting the variables is something that a lot of us do on a daily, hourly, minute basis, you know, depending on what's going on. So that was wonderfully said, Gabe. So thank you for that. Crew, any comments or?
Well, it's amazing what you learn from somebody so early on in your life or career, and you don't really think about it at the time. And here you are, maybe, I don't know if it's been 10 years for you or 15 or 20, but when we talked about our mentors a few episodes ago, I'm trying to think of how many years ago that was. And some of the things he taught me, I still think of on a daily basis. And I'm like, I had no idea at the time in early 30s that in my mid 40s that I would still be thinking of the comments that he taught me. And so I think that's great that you brought that up about the early on with John.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's really life-changing, you know, and it does help you out, especially you know, too bad it doesn't help you out as a parent, because kids will never be like, I'm not going to listen to you regardless. I'm like, yeah, one day you will, but it's like that'll never
one day
falls on deaf ears. But you know, you look at it and it's like all these years later, it's just like, yeah, you know, and it's slowly, you know, I wish I could say that I realized it right then and there, like the impact that it had for me, like not only at work, but in life. You know, when you're a young, snot-nosed kid, it's like, you know, you think you know it all. And then it's over time where it's just like the gradual impact. It's like, that was okay. Yeah. Okay. I was like, damn it. Okay. Yep. Yeah, this is it. I'm adapting. I got to adapt. So
and my son is doing that now. I feel like
I was gonna say I'm going through that right now. And just for the record, when parents speak to their children, it does not fall on deaf ears. It does not. You just don't realize it. It goes into a little vault that you lock up until you need it.
That's true.
So
that is true.
Hearing you talk, Gabe, I keep having a saying pop in my head over and over. And I mentioned this on the one show. The saying is, I win or I learn. I don't lose. And that's what it is maybe it doesn't go right, but you learn from that situation and you move on. So you don't actually lose. Like, even when you take a sports team, they technically lost the game, but those players learn, okay, this is what we did wrong. This is how we're going to fix it. So yeah, I mean, this is great advice you just gave there, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just it's tough. Like the past year, I mean, I think honestly for our industry, the past 5 years have been sort of just, you know, a 180 for a lot of people. A lot of people that have been in positions where they were very comfortable have seen technology sort of go, you know, evolve at a breakneck pace, where now it's a lot of things are self-service. A lot of things maybe don't need such custom programs. And they're seeing it's just, they don't need me. They don't want me. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. It's like, you know, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm in the same boat, guys. I'm in my mid 40s. It's like, I'm not a young kid here, but it's like,
we are young. Gabe,
that is true.
You guys are making me sad.
Absolutely.
I'll say y'all are making me anxious.
Yeah. Mid 40s is young, Gabe.
Well,
it is.
Just an excuse.
Trust me, it is.
Our industry, out of all of them, do not have the ageism of what my friends have experienced. I'll tell you right now, we don't have that because we have the experience and it's still accepted. And yes, you have young people coming up, but it's also then, like you said, it's mentoring them too. But to hear the stories, I'm telling you, of the people and what they've been through, especially because our industry has music in it.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There are many books that should be written.
Absolutely.
I think also that when you look at it, think about people. Okay, let's take the 40s. All right. How many iterations and changes of technology have we all witnessed and maneuvered through? You know, we're still not doing, Windows 98 or whatever it was, you know.
VGA rocks. VGA.
Well, that's right. But also, I think that we gained a lot of that experience of the evolution of technology, and probably have a little bit more of a background in looking at and assessing emerging technology as well, that that perspective is important.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I agree with that, Spence. I think there's something to be said about those of us that grew up with a Windows 3.1 machine that was running
Commodore 64
or with a 286 processor that you had dial-up internet. They, if you got 56K, you were really winning, but
hey,
and then
with that gateway. I remember when the Pentium processor came out, and it was like a whole big it's a big
oh man.
I think we all can appreciate, like, when things like you would get network sluggishness or something like that, we could appreciate it a little bit more. It's like, well, this is still way faster than what I had back in the day.
You don't have to kill a robot
when you could actually put 3 or 4 people in a data closet.
Right.
Instead of all the racks of equipment in there, you got to go outside to change your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the important things too, I mean, I haven't been through as many changes. I've been through some, but I think one of the most beneficial things I've learned from having to deal with the changing technology is that it's a skill set. You're learning, these are the things that I need to look at and how I should approach them. And it teaches you, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not a very patient person, but it teaches you patience. And those are like soft skills types of things that often in technology fields we don't take into consideration. So when we're forced in those situations, then we learn those and they help us later on. And I think that is what makes people be great mentors like Gabe's, is that you're not just teaching somebody the technical skills, you're teaching them the soft skills that they need to be successful.
You know what else? There's another soft skill. Today, I had to, I'm not using Microsoft Office Suite. I love Microsoft Office Suite. I didn't appreciate Outlook enough, frankly. And I don't have Outlook anymore. I'm living in the Google world. And I don't have Excel, and I had to mess with like 2 different Google Sheets things and trying to get all this information. And I'm like, okay. And I was, cursing at the monitors. And I had figured out that, how to do things that I used to know how to do really well. Right. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing, not for stupid Google. And then I had to remember that soft skill of, hey, it's not automated. Grind it out. Compare 1,767 entries with 347 entries and match them and find the ones. Go through it all. And that's part of the grind. That's like, I feel like, 20-0 having to go through this grind, because that's how I had to do it before I knew how to automate anything. But I got it done, and it was faster than I thought. I'm like, well, okay, that's what needed to happen. And I can move it forward, even though it was like stupid, because sometimes the soft skills are suck it up and do it. And adapt. Like, well, I guess I'm back to square one, but I don't have to stop.
Yep. Adapt. Exactly. That's the key word here.
Yeah, it is. I think being able to adapt is such a critical skill that I think people need to be taught more troubleshooting skills. I think that's one thing that AV professionals have over a lot of other, professionals. Like Nancy was saying, there was no ageism in the AV industry. And I think that has a lot to do with our troubleshooting skills as a whole. I think in our industry, okay, I'm extremely biased because I'm in this industry, but I think we're some of the best troubleshooters I've ever seen. I feel like I can put AV people in any situation and they can figure out what works and what doesn't work, regardless of their skill set in that specific scenario. I've seen so many people do such amazing things with overall things, being able to just like, this isn't working. We think it's this, and this is why we think it's this. And they'll run through the troubleshooting. And those are some of my favorite people to talk to. And it's like, it's still now, like when I have an issue with any consumer product in the house or anything, that's how I troubleshoot still. I'm going through my troubleshooting process. And if I ever have to call support, I'm like, before you interrupt me with your script, this is what the steps that I've taken.
Yep. I'm guilty of that. Yes.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing, it is getting very, very hard to fill jobs of people that are retiring because of that. I know for a fact, I have a very, very dear friend of mine that is trying desperately to retire. And the problem is they're trying to keep him from retiring because they can't replace him. Because people, you know, he came in at WVU back in the 80s. He was there for major installs at both the stadium and at the Coliseum, you know, and that was just what we would think of today as basic, simple AV skills, you know, how to set up, you know, a soundboard. Okay. But now you're talking about Dante, you're talking about, you know, having to understand all sorts of network infrastructure. Everything is just so, and it would take 3 people to do that. Plus he was a trained electronics engineer. So people don't know how to solder up an XLR plug at this point. All right. They don't know how to run a volt ohm meter to ring something out to see if there's continuity. What I'm saying is, when you talk about troubleshooting, those skill sets are going to be vital. And if I, in just from personal experience, my suggestion would be some of these folks coming in now, work on your troubleshooting skills, and you're going to have a lot of value as you get older.
Is this a bad time to plug the need for trade schools?
Oh no, even though you got a bunch of higher ed, even though you have a bunch of higher ed people on here, I will admit, and I've said it before, college isn't for everybody. Like, you know, we need electricians, we need plumbers.
This guy I'm talking about is brilliant. And he did a 2.5-year program of electronics engineering out in Ohio. And the guy, on campus to this day, you would think he walks on water because they're scared to death to lose him.
Yeah. So Spence, my question is this an internship, a shadow type of thing that maybe would help our industry?
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between shadowing somebody and saying, okay, if you bring up a Dante system, or if you bring up a software that is driving all this stuff, yeah, that's okay. But when it comes down to, okay, something, I smell smoke. What do you suppose that's coming from? Okay. What would we just burn up? Or look, it takes a 3.5 millimeter ring tip sleeve to an XLR. Well, we don't have one. Do you have a soldering iron? Those are the skills that are desperately needed. And those are hands-on. You can call it shadowing, but the thing is this, a university is not going to hire somebody to shadow somebody else for a year.
No, I know that. That's why I was wondering, because I know of other occupations where they do shadow, so they actually take them out and have them see what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's why.
That goes without saying, but not the soldering part of it, not the getting in at the component level to say to troubleshoot. Okay, why did this channel on this mixing board just go out?
I'll jump in there though for a second to interrupt, because if you look at your other, I used to be a receptionist in a doctor's office. So if you look at your people who go to school, to a trade, like a 2-year program type school to become an MA, they can't even walk into a doctor's office and start shadowing until they've gotten to a certain point in that program. So, I mean, I'll consider myself an exception to the rule given my experience, but I mean, like anything, whether you're an electrician or a plumber or a mechanic or an MA or an IT person, you know, you at least have to know something. You can't just walk in and just start shadowing somebody.
Right.
And
well, you know, and the thing is this, troubleshooting, I don't even know if that's even, because let me tell you what happened when I was still at WVU. I had one digital sign decide to act up and go out. So finally got a technician to drive down from Pittsburgh, hour and a half away. So I help him get it out. It was a major sign that we had out there at the ticket office. All right. We go through, get the thing out of the wall, flop it down there on the floor. He's taking screws out of the back of it. Open it up. There were 2 circuit boards in a huge 50-inch monitor. Okay. 2 circuit boards. He figured out. He said, I said, you're not going to test anything? He said, no. He said, it takes too much time. He said, I just brought a new board. I'm going to put the whole new board in. That's troubleshooting today. Mm-hmm. They swap an entire board out instead of finding out what component is wrong. Right. It's get rid of that board. And they just he threw it in the trash can on his way out the door.
Well, I'll admit that's one of the things that's how Epson handled their power failure issue with their laser projectors at first. They basically, like, at first we were just returning them back to them, but then eventually they did figure out what the issue was, and it was a component on a board that was changed by a third-party vendor that didn't inform them that power component was changed. So it was like further down the line. But yeah, I get it. That, unfortunately, that's a lost art of actually determining where those problems are. So
it's unfortunate.
It's also disposable technology.
Yeah, it's true. And that's the way they look at it. I remember an issue years ago with the Gentner audio interfaces. Yep. Yes, and it was an actual Gentner where the power supply went bad. It was causing a 60-second little hum. And nobody can figure out that it was the power supply. So, the manager on site was just like, well, we'll just RMA it and get another one in place. I'm like, but in the meantime, this room is down and this is a heavily used room. We need a Gentner. What are we going to do? Take from Peter to give to Paul? I mean, we got to figure this out. So we did that. We took from Peter to give to Paul. But in the meantime, me and a couple of guys, we figured it out. We got it working and we put it in the, the room that we took it out of. And we got it working. It's like, we didn't need to RMA it. We just need to fix it. It's like a car. Are you going to throw your car away and buy another car? It's like, it's maintenance. You got to fix the car. It's,
or you have to at least know where to start to look.
You have to know where to start to look. Yeah.
Before you even talk to a service guy.
Yeah. What are you hearing? I hear a noise. Okay, great. It's a Gentner. It's supposed to have noise. It's like noise comes out of it. Technically, it's like, it's not always sound. It's like, it could be noise to some people. I don't know. It's just, it's tough. Erica's right. It's impossible to walk into a place, without, a certain level of skill. But then what do we do? Because I think that's the issue, that a lot of people, maybe we don't attract people into this industry because we're not giving them a real avenue with how to get in and maybe learn from some of the people that have been there, like if this was the case, and I'm not saying that the university is responsible, Spence, for, hiring somebody that they need to train, but the university also needs to realize you're not going to hire this guy because this guy's retiring.
Exactly. So or they should have been thinking about that 5 years ago is my point.
It's like, what are you going to do? You have to realize you're going to take some losses. One person will not, somebody coming in off the street's not, but you know what I mean, is not going to have the skill set of this person that's been there for 30, 40 years. It's just impossible. He's not going to have the skill set of somebody that's been there 10 years. It's just not possible. What are you going to do? How are you going to address that? You have to start bringing people in. You have to start bringing people in. You can bring them in at a junior level. And I'm not speaking specifically, for WVU, but for other places, other institutions, because it doesn't just happen at WVU. It happens at a lot of places that I've seen.
No, I agree with that.
I have a lot of friends that tell me the same thing. I mean, it seems like your friend is a lot nicer because my friends are like, yeah, I'm just tired. I'm done. I'm like, okay. It's like, I can't tell you what to do.
Go
Go ahead.
Yeah,
there's
I agree.
there's
there
a
are
loyalty
places,
factor there.
yeah,
And that's what it is.
And then there's also, there are places that are just not designed to promote from within. Like, and unfortunately that's when you have to make one of those life decisions of, okay, well, there's no place for me to go. Like the guy that's ahead of me isn't going anywhere. And, they're not training me to get to that level.
Yeah.
So, so it's like, all right, well, I have to leave and I have to go somewhere else and I have to adapt.
And that's okay too. I mean, specifically, we're here talking about a college, but it can be applicable in any situation. You look at, we're in March Madness now. You look at the NCAA. These kids are playing in college and they hope to go to the NBA. Some of them will, some of them won't. But, college is that first step. This job where you're learning can be college for you. And then the next step may not be the NBA, but it could be another level before you get to the NBA. I mean, whatever it is, everything is in steps. You don't get that golden crown right away, and you shouldn't get it right away, because I really think that spoils you. If I didn't have to work as hard as I've had to work in my career, I don't think I would appreciate what I have right now as much as I do. And I think I think that's something that gets taken for granted. It's not always. I've been at a lot of jobs, even at my current job. It's not necessarily about moving up. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I want to keep doing my job. I don't necessarily want to move up or move into anything. It's just, it's never been about moving up. I've made decisions, based off of my family. If I realize, hey, my position's being phased out, or, hey, this place is giving me more money and I could use more money right now. Whatever the decision, my deciding factor was, it was always driven by my family. But there were many times when I was very satisfied at my job and I had absolutely no desire to move up, because what I was doing was that enjoyable. And that was I've been at a lot of jobs, and that was my feeling at a lot of these places where I'm like, I'm very happy right now. I'm secure. Everything's going good. And I had received many offers from other places and I didn't take them. It took something significant to make me want to leave. And it's just, I think that's something, give them something that's intangible, one of those intangibles, whether it's the friendship, the camaraderie, give them something that show them that you value them. The job that I had right before Zoom, I worked for the World Economic Forum. That was probably the hardest job that I had to leave. I was the in-house person. I designed about 3 different offices for them in, New York, San Francisco, Switzerland. But it wasn't about that. It was the people that made me want to stay. These people really cared for me. When I was sick there, they cared for me. They were there. They had my back. They were such good people. Like, that was the toughest decision that I ever had.
My goodness, Gabe, you've just had so much, so much in your life. You really have a lot to share.
So it's like, yeah, it's just, but it's I think it's always, it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about opportunity. But I think, I think places do themselves a disservice when they think, I'm not going to be able to hire this guy, especially if he's a young guy, because he's going to want to move up. Train them, breed that loyalty. He may have friends that don't know what they want to do, or they're in, they think that AV is just IT support and they don't understand what AV really does. There's an avenue there for us to train people. And I'm all about training, trying to educate, trying to help them and be better, because somebody's got to carry this going forward. I'm not going to last forever.
That's one of the things that's happening in we feel like, hey, we know this, and we hang out with each other and we're like, oh, I've done, you know a lot more about audio than I do, Gabe, but I've troubleshot things, I've put things in, and I know how to do this. I know how to like trace out the signal flow, right? And we know like, how does this all flow together? And we've got that built out in our heads. We kind of know, oh, did you check this? Did you check that? And people who have not had experience and haven't had to do it don't have the map in their head of, well, check this and check that. And it would be good if we could start like handing off some of the knowledge. Of course, it has to do with whether or not people are willing to listen, but this is real. This is a true thing. I mean, Erica, you called it soft skills a little bit, but you know, it's also experience and kind of going, well, let me think this one through, and finding the answer and sticking through it until you do. Going, oh, that's where that hum comes from. Oh, that's why everyone is sitting around not doing anything.
I love having those aha moments. Those are the best. There've been so many times, you're running through your troubleshooting, doing signal flow, you know, figuring out where things go, and then it goes, that's it. It's like, that's the thing. And then it's, you know, then those are the ones that stick with you. Like, those are the ones that you go, oh yeah, all right, I've seen this before. And then you can, you know, quickly go right around to it. So the adapting happens faster.
And it's also, I think the biggest thing is to make sure you don't have an ego. You just, it's like a lot of times people get stuck in their own head, and I've been doing this long, that long, this, that, the other. I found myself in a situation, I was doing live sound. I'm an audio guy. I couldn't get the mics up. I didn't know what was going on. Somebody came up, is like, does this thing need to be on? Flipped it. I was like, oh. I was like, of course. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the mixer needs to be on.
That does help. Yeah.
So are you guys ready?
All right. What do you got, Murphy?
Okay. This one's a little different.
We're adapting. It's okay.
We're adapting. Love different.
Adapt to new world. When it comes down to your project, sometimes the project manager, the PM minute, you have to be willing to make the decision. You have to say, this is what we're going to do. And you have to go forward and do it. All of the preparation that it takes, all of the gathering the information, all of the, make the call. And actually, this is something that comes up in my improv, with me and my improv playmates when we do our acting. They call it sometimes, well, buy the damn hat. Because when you're in the doing improv, like, oh, what am I going to buy that? I don't know. And you have to just decide it and do it. You have to do it. And projects are like that. You come to the place and everybody throws information at you, like, oh, well, did you know that we don't have the right, you know, color of cable, and you have to go, well, maybe do we need that color? And then somebody else says, oh, it turns out that we have a weird size of ladder, and you know, all these different things coming at you. Decisions have to be made, because everyone's standing around looking at you when you're the one responsible. You have to go this and make the decision. And that will keep it moving. It comes down to making the decision, executing, and doing it.
Yeah, because otherwise you get lost in the details, and then you don't go anywhere. You just spin your wheels. So, yeah, there you go.
And that is what happened, actually. We had been spinning our wheels at work, coming to the moment when I had to send 2,000 emails to a bunch of people, the same email. And this resulted in me having to match. Is like, do we have the right emails? I don't know. I'm like, just do it. Just go. So we did it. And there's been all this aftermath, and the whole company is in an uproar. There's a great disturbance in the force, but everybody recognizes it's a good thing. But everybody has to do a bunch of work that we've been putting off doing. So you have to make the decision, go for it, and things will move forward in the right direction. But if you just sit around waiting for somebody, then all you do is wait.
What is the rock song? If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. You're like, sometimes you're better off making the wrong decision, as long as it's a decision, and then going, okay, well, that didn't work, and then backtracking, versus just like the inertia is worse than going in the wrong direction sometimes.
Yeah. And in the case of of our crew, the people doing the work on site, it has a cost. It has a till running. The the meter is running when everyone's sitting around not doing anything. So
it's like from Spaceballs. It's like, what are you always preparing for? Just go. It's like, that's.
Oh, okay. Now to bring this back also. Guess what decade we're living in? The 20s. Remember?
The roaring 20s?
Well, let's go back and think about the 100 years ago 20s. And in 1918, there was a plague, right? There was a plague. Mm-hmm. And there are pictures of people seriously standing in their black and white photos with masks on.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those, Matt? There were masks then too. And everybody was all terrified and scared. There had been a horrific world war, and then there was a horrific global plague that sucked. And then there was a decade of famously riotous partying. Are you ready? Let's kick the dust off the tires. We're about there, guys. You and Erica can't have all the fun, Renee, at your bar hopping yesterday, whatever it was. Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. Time to live our life. Okay, so
hell to the yeah.
They set the example. They set the precedent. Let's party like it's 2021.
Oh, I just gotta say this, Kim. I love you and your comments.
For those of you
not able to read our chat, I feel very
okay.
The listeners and watchers only get half the show. There's a whole other Kim show that goes on in the chat that no one sees.
And no one will ever see that. That is, like I've said, that is the one thing we hold sacred here is our chat. So the only way you'd ever know.
I'm quiet, but I am not.
No.
Well, Tim's got one up, and I was like, why does Spence not have one up yet with the Roaring 20s? Because Spence is always the background.
And this is and this is obvious. This is where my brain goes because I'm a theater guy. I instantly went to Chicago. Like that's it. Like that's they were all about that was it. It was the flapper dresses.
That dress would look great on you, Kim. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
that shapeless thing of the 1920s where the dresses were straight up and down, not really good for a woman like you are 5'1". I can't pull it off. I do like the hair, and I love a good hat. So
I think you could modify it. You could work it out.
And beads are fun. Who doesn't like beads?
Sequins sparkle a little bit, you know.
Oh, wait. I reminded my daughter. This was funny. So I don't know what she's going to do when she goes back to school in a couple of weeks, but she spends most of her life in pajamas. She's getting a wardrobe of pajamas, right? So I said, come on, let's walk the dog. You got to get some exercise. She's like, do I have to change out of my pajamas? I said, I don't see why. So let's go. Keep your pajamas. Let's go. She's 12. She's old enough not to wear pajamas, but she's like, I'm like, I don't care. I'd wear pajamas if I felt like it. So let's do this. And I said, that was a thing in the 20s too. You could go that direction, Kim. They wore pajamas for, there's some fancy retro vintage jammies from the 20s that are like Chinese pajamas that was a thing to wear out for the ladies.
My daughter's been wearing, she got 2 wearable blankets for Christmas, and she's been alternating the wearable blankets every day. She's 10.
Like a Snuggie?
Yeah, it's like a shorter version of a Snuggie.
Okay.
And it's like this huge, shapeless, fuzzy thing, and she's wearing them. She alternates and washes them, and then just keeps wearing them.
Okay.
So
that's acceptable.
I think like this COVID thing with the kids being out of school is going to create a little bit of like a fashion ripple in what is acceptable for kids to wear when they go back to school. Like I literally said to her, do you have shoes that fit you and clothes to go, because she's going to go back to school next month? Like I can't think of when she had shoes on last. Like, do your shoes still fit? Do you have any pants?
Yes.
Do you have a backpack?
That must be asked.
Yeah, we had to get all that stuff for our girls because they just went back to school this week.
Because
they wanted to.
from the front.
But what was funny is, I don't know if you guys saw the post. I commented on Alicia's about her wardrobe.
Yes.
Tweet.
Yes, I did. Yep.
And I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they said it's a statement that I never heard before. Is there's a saying that geniuses wear the same things every day, because they don't have to waste the brain power picking out their clothes.
Steve Jobs thing.
Yeah, I'm like, well,
I dig this.
I thought I was lazy, but I guess I'm just a genius.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not my jam.
It's called going to private school.
I like the clothes.
Oh, come on.
Being having a
like,
uniform.
you guys aren't rotating the same 5-6 outfits at this point.
I have the 6. I got like 3.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I am completely just taking clothes out of the laundry basket and putting them back on in rotation.
And the same sweatpants almost every other day. Yeah. My company.
I'm
you just hang them out the window and just get them aired out a little bit.
These aren't actually clothes. This is a virtual background.
Why isn't Zoom working on that, Gabe? Come on.
I got it.
I had to take
give us virtual clothing. That would be great.
That's brilliant. Yes, talk to your people about that, Gabe. Talk to them.
I went to go take new headshots at work today, so I like dressed up, and when I walked in, my boss and everybody were like, do you work here? Like,
are you interviewing?
Because normally it's just jeans and a t-shirt. Like that, obviously I changed when I got home, but everyone was just like, what's going on? Who are you? Like, it's very strange. It's impossible to imagine, going back to any of that.
Well, even on Zoom, I have to do it with the office. There's points where I just have my hair up in a baseball cap, no makeup, nothing, with the salespeople, and then
that's hot.
All of a sudden, there's a company meeting, and I am doing my hair, and I got makeup on, and they're like, "Oh, wow, okay, who are you?" So,
I have a whole closet full of suits. I'm like, am I ever gonna wear these again? Do I need it?
Fit me anyway because I'm COVID.
Well,
and here's the thing: I had to put a suit on the other day for the first time, and something's happened in the closet because it shrunk.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the closet.
Did you guys see the news headline today that people have put on an average of 2 pounds per month on lockdown?
I believe it.
It's been 12 months. So on average, we've gained 24 pounds.
Well, let me tell you, I was okay for the first couple of months, but then,
Yeah, when the weather changed, like that was like I was okay until like September, and then like that's when things kind of like really went bad. So, but you know what though? Oh shoot, I had a thought. Oh, I hate when I do that. Oh.
Great story, Tim.
Come on, Tim.
Who was talking about what they just legalized in New Jersey?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's not that. So that
he's a tester.
Well, so what were we talking about? Let's get you back on that. What were we talking about?
It's gone. It's the ADHD.
We were talking about the fact that Tim's shadow now weighs 5 pounds.
Oh,
so.
Right.
Well, yeah. That's.
Hey, if we're gonna change subjects,
range of forgetting things. So he's still young.
Yeah, I'm about to turn 41, and apparently that's it. Like, it's all downhill.
You're easy from it, girl. No.
Want to know something crazy, Tim?
What was that?
I just learned that legally, the age discrimination starts at age 42.
Really?
Yes. Huh. So they cannot discriminate you against at the age of 42. They do it like fire you because of your age or anything.
They'll tell you when you're
an
42.
ageist.
This is what they're going to tell you when you're 42. They'll say goodbye and thanks for all the fish.
So this is one of my favorite
arguments. Well, it is the
arguments.
answer to life and everything. So
yeah, this is one of my favorite arguments because for so long people have said, oh, well, you're like that because you're a millennial. Millennials expect to have everything handed to them. And it's like, oh my gosh, millennials have finally reached the age where it is illegal to discriminate against them. So people can no longer say that. Like, you can't say, oh, well, you're a millennial, you know, you just expect things to be handed to you, like, yeah, all that stuff. It's like, oh, you can't do that no more. Come at me, bro.
Well, that's good. I mean, the AARP was, I thought, 55, and then somebody told me it went down to 40 or 50.
Hey, I know a guy that can get you in.
You will start getting AAR. My granddad used to, I got another email from those AARP people. You'll be getting your AARP stuff here when you hit 50.
It starts a lot earlier. I got mine already.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys. So yesterday I went to my naturopathic and had to get like my weight and BMI, and I got on and I'm looking going, I don't think that's my age.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you can change it. And then I'm like, I got to get the calculator out. And I found out that actually they were a year younger than what my age is. But if I had my son, he would keep me in place of it. But I was just like, are you kidding me? I can't even remember my age anymore. But the thing
I can't remember yesterday, so I can't even remember my
when we
age.
talk about like the vaccinations and things like that, all of a sudden you're in your 50s going, Jesus, yeah, I guess I can get stuff if I realize I am of that age. Sure. I mean, it's a whole different ball game. I guess that what I'm saying is that, you know, like people in their 40s talk about things, people in their 30s talk about things. Let's talk about when you get to your 50s, there's a whole shitload of stuff that happens that you don't even think will happen.
Yeah, well, I just went to had the annual checkup here. What was it, Monday, I think, and they make you get on that scale, and thank goodness that it comes up in metric kilograms or whatever the thing is that I refused to study when I was a kid in school. Mm-hmm. That way, because it looks a heck of a lot better than real. And I'm taking everything out. I'm taking everything out of my pockets, my wallet, my Tic Tacs, everything. I mean, it's like, no, you're not going to make me that sad. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Yay, we love it.
Yes, thank you very much, Gabe, for joining us tonight.
Don't be a stranger, Gabe.
I try not to.
Yeah, come by and bring your wisdom.
Gabe.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
We're going to be asymmetrical now. It's going to totally trigger my OCD.
There's a hole in our screen.
So yeah, so
there should be a feature in Zoom that you can have where someone drops off and you need even numbers. They randomly throw someone in.
Or you can just make two people turn their camera off and then you'll be good. You can do the hide non-video participants.
Oh, we do it that way. Yeah, that's true.
My favorite though is that you can drag and drop people's windows. I love it. Yeah. I love that now.
That sounds funny.
I didn't know that. So why would you do that though, Erica? Why would you drop people's windows?
Well, because you're rating how much you think of them, right?
No, I'm just thinking I also have OCD, and if it meant I had to turn off my camera so we could get even numbers, I would totally do it.
Wow. Okay.
Very interesting. Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna roll right into the firing range. And really we'll
Jim's here.
Yes, you're here for it. Oh, so it's time to move into that segment.
I'm thankful you're here so I don't have to do the sound.
Me too, because I suck at it.
Well, all right. So let's try that again. So it's now time for at that wonderful segment of the AV Life, the firing range.
Hey. I feel like him since you and I are fired.
That's right.
Yeah. So we this one actually comes to us thanks to our friend Frank on Twitter. And he found this article from People Magazine, and the folks from Peeps and Pepsi have teamed up to create a beverage that is Pepsi and Peeps flavored in a unlikely collaboration, as the article says. The most unlikely collaboration since Ed Sheeran and Andrea Bocelli. So I love Peeps. Let me tell you this. And I do enjoy a Pepsi. What's that?
How are we going to split this? This is going to be tough.
I think we got to go on our own. I just think that,
yeah. This is a free for all for everybody. So I'm just going to go because this is disgusting. This is the worst idea I've ever heard of. So yeah, all right. I love Peeps. Peeps are great. Marshmallow, extra sugar on top. It's great. My wife loves them, like leaving them out and letting them get stale for like a couple days and, then eating them. Pepsi's good. Pepsi's a great product. There are some things you just don't merge together, like I'm all good. I know the conversation of, ham and pineapple on pizza. I am a fan, so I am okay with a good Hawaiian pizza. So that is fine by me. But this is just, this doesn't promote springtime activities, as the article says to me. This is a day of stomach aches and bathroom trips for me.
Wow. It's how about Easter? It's about Easter.
Yeah, I got enough candy in Easter that I don't need a beverage on top of all that.
Tim, I don't like Peeps, but the longer I've thought about this, the more I'm like, I'm kind of okay with it. Because I think what I don't like about Peeps is the weird Peeps texture. Is like that sugar on a marshmallow and it's rough but I think like marshmallow Pepsi doesn't sound all that gross. And I'm like, I don't know, throw a little rum in that bad boy. That sounds like I like a little dark rum. And
now I know what outfit to mail to you now. I mean,
you don't want to order that at a bar, hired like a rum and Peeps Pepsi.
I think
Vanilla Crown might not be too bad though.
I think it could make a nice cocktail. Does it come in diet? Do they have diet?
What would be the point of that?
Pepsi Zero.
Saccharin.
I think that, Mountain Dew went through, I thought it was sacrilegious when Mountain Dew went to, like Mount Code Red, and then they went to whatever the purple one was, and all these different ones. But they've turned out okay. But I'm willing. I think that Pepsi might have missed the thing. If rather than Peeps, I would have liked to have seen them team up with like Hornitos and done tequila with it or something like that. That would have made more sense probably than Peeps. But I'll try it. I think it's good. But Kim, I do know what the next costume party, I'm going to send you a Peeps outfit because I want to see you in that.
Wow.
So here's my thing.
Someone loves a good costume like me, Spence.
That's right.
I'm wondering about the color. Like, is this supposed to be like a Crystal Pepsi comeback or something? Like, because you can't have dark flavored pop that tastes like marshmallows.
That brings up a good point.
Her background looks what the can is.
That brings up a good point, Erica, because really the essence of Peeps is, although it is at its heart marshmallow flavored, but the flavor, the overarching flavor, marshmallow, yes, but the real flavor of Peeps is the flavor of artificial coloring. It tastes like the artificial coloring. So that chemical yellow.
What is it? Aspartame or something like that. That's what gives you that really. That's what gives you your good flavor.
Well, okay, no, it's that flavor. So it's that chemical artificial flavor, and it just kind of pervades every nook of your mouth, both the color and the flavor. And so I'm not sure that Pepsi, which already has artificial coloring, I don't know if it will clash.
If they use that in Pepsi, that artificial flavor, sugaring, that stuff makes you want to drag your tongue on the carpet. It is disgusting.
Well, think about it. Think about what Peeps really are. It's at its heart.
Okay, now let's all just take a step back and look at all of the items over the last handful of years that have combined. And at one point you said, oh, I don't know if that'd be good. We were just talking, Tim and I were talking last week or the week before about peanut butter whiskey.
That's right.
And grape jello for jello shots. They make
no, it's not grape jello. It's the blueberry Red Bull, the blue Red Bull with the peanut butter whiskey.
I make grape jello.
She made this
with the peanut butter whiskey and make PB&J jello shots, and they are amazing.
Yeah. My wife's going out of town this weekend. Can I come over?
Yeah, you can.
I want you to send me that recipe.
And I was doing hot chocolate with the peanut butter whiskey.
Or you get up and you can make hot chocolate, you put Fireball or peanut butter whiskey or what. Think about all the things that people are combining now that are like, oh God, no. And then, oh, it's not so bad. And now my PB&J
but here's the thing though, like
but everything you mentioned includes alcohol. Peeps, unless they're gonna soak the Peeps in vodka and then put them in the Pepsi, which one would be terrible.
I like that idea.
Let's go back to Reese's. Reese's now has a Reese's that's white chocolate, or
the marshmallow one. Oh my God, I had one the other day. I thought I was gonna get diabetes immediately.
Now. And by the way, if you're looking for a quick high and say like you're an alcoholic or you don't like to drink alcohol and you're looking for a quick high, I'm thinking combine some Peeps and some Pepsi and you're gonna get
okay. It's sort of a
James, I think James was trying to chime in. Go ahead, James.
This story just reminds me of two different things. The first thing it reminds me of is there's a song YouTube video that my kids watch. I don't know, Kim, maybe your kids watched this when they were younger. My youngest one's watching, does it now, is about food and combination. It's like, do you like broccoli? Yes. Do you like
broccoli ice cream?
No, yuck. Like that what comes in my head. And then just listening to Renee talk and Tim and everything is, I forget how many episodes ago, but we did that firing range of that weird, was it, they were making weird concoction drinks.
What was that?
You guys remember like one was like toilet water or something like that? This was like a month or two ago. The article was, Spence, do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Where they were making weird stuff. And we were talking about
it came from Kim.
Yeah. Those are the two things I thought about. And just wondering if Renee, if you are willing to try some of those concoctions now.
No.
Back then.
No. Still no.
All right, but I think we can agree that the packaging on the Peeps Pepsi product is kick-ass.
Okay, I think I can buy the packaging.
Yeah, marketing gets an A+ for that one for sure.
I gotta say, that makes me, that's something my kids would see and be like, I need all of that.
But the thing is,
blue, I like the blue. Yeah,
you can't buy them. They're what they're doing is they're doing like a raffle or lottery or like, you can only win them. They're not so to me, and again, it goes to marketing. It's a great idea, but to me is Peeps didn't come out last year because of COVID.
Oh, that's
they had to shut down.
COVID,
and they're making a comeback, and this is their way of getting the word out.
Is this an acquisition?
No.
Pepsi is buying Peeps. That is happening. That's got to be happening.
Can there be one more M&A in my life?
I just think it's funny that they go.
Sorry, was that out loud?
After what has been a very difficult year. After what has been a very difficult year, many consumers are looking for new things to smile about. Now, I'm smiling about this, but I don't think it's for the reason that they want us to be smiling about this for. Yeah. So
well, they're going to give this. They're going to give this to their kids, and they're going to be still in quarantine and not be able to go do anything, and their kids are going to be bouncing off the walls. It's going to be not good.
I would just walk out the house. I'd be like, all right, y'all, here you go. We can't go to Sky Zone and jump on the little trampolines. I'm just gonna leave y'all in here by yourself for a little while.
Well, you guys think about this. This is great marketing because you know what? How long have we been talking about this? And now all our listeners are thinking about Pepsi and Peeps.
Tim, cut it all out. Don't give him the satisfaction.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna edit. That's it. Fire.
There's gonna be a mad rush after this episode drops. There's gonna be a mad rush to the store for Pepsi and Peeps.
Well, then Pepsi needs to contact Joe Way and sponsor the AV
That's
Life.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
Now,
we need to get some real sponsors. Your Sennheiser people can work in here. They can see, oh look.
Now this started from our friend Frank on Twitter today. Oh look, he was free at 5 o'clock. At Erica and I were on a call with him earlier. He was like, oh my god, I had to pin the tweet. 2,271 likes, 653 retweets, 235 comments.
Wow.
Like of all the AV stuff I've ever tweeted, like this is what gets.
It's been a little slow on the Twitters lately.
Well,
so I'm glad.
Go look at the Pepsi and Peeps tweets.
Yeah. So I mean, it was slow. So I'm glad there's some love.
Which
happening.
is
good.
Odd because then I tweeted about the whole New York having a vaccine for the theater workers to get the theater Broadway back up, and like nobody commented on that. So that's the AV right there.
There you go. That's funny. Okay, well, there's no winner loser, I guess.
Oh, Pop Rocks. Oh, gee, wow. Yeah, this is what's happening in the chat right now.
In the chat, we're talking about how Oreos has these special flavors. Right now, they have Lady Gaga Oreo cookies, which they're good.
I'm gonna go get mine. Just hang on.
Good, but they don't taste good.
You have them. Wow.
Yeah,
actually, of course I do. You do remember that I went to Las Vegas for my 30th birthday and saw Lady Gaga on my 30th birthday for the first time.
No, I did not know that.
She is my queen.
And I have seen her perform as well. Actually, at the Atlantic City. No, that's not the. What was it?
Okay,
the Boardwalk
Hall. Myself on hold and drive.
The Boardwalk Hall. Yeah.
You know, that's actually where we hold our graduation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They had when the Trolls World Tour movie came out, they had Trolls Oreos that were full of sparkles and Pop Rocks, which
wow,
my 6-year-old had no prior experience with Pop Rocks, and if you don't have a warning on something like that, it's a little shocking.
And that's the best.
What's this funny thing in my mouth?
There she is.
She was very upset about the Pop Rocks in the Oreo.
Maybe this is why she's our AV.
Wow. Nice.
Wow. What are those?
Lady Gaga Oreos.
Lady Gaga Oreos.
And do you have a package that you're never going to open? And the other one
I told April I wasn't going to open these, and then I just had to have some sugar, and I did anyway. But my favorite thing about them is there's different designs. Okay, so they have this one says Chromatica on it.
Okay.
Right. And this one is a little heart.
Oh.
Okay, that's very Gaga.
And then this one is her in her little costume.
Wow.
A little serpent costume. And I think there's only 3. There might be 4. Hang on. There's only 3. But they're like green.
Oh, of course we have different colors. Talk about when the pandemic hit and she couldn't tour. She had to find a different way to make some income. She turned to Oreos.
I mean, if she
let's Google Oreos.
Okay. She's example right now of what we were just talking about. AV adapting to variables.
Yeah.
I would buy Peeps Oreos though. That I would buy. I totally get with that.
That would be
They're chocolate wafers though. I don't like the vanilla wafers.
Like if they rolled the marshmallow in the sugar, like on the side cookies.
Yep.
Hey Oreo, if
that
you're
would
listening.
Be great. There's your partnership.
Yeah, trademark that, Kim.
Yeah,
trademark it and sell it.
It's recorded.
Lady Gaga Pop Rock filled Peeps Oreos.
Oh my God, that's
wow.
Sprinkled with Pepsi.
Diabetes.
With tequila.
The funny thing is that you put Lady Gaga in front of it and it completely makes sense.
Oh yeah, I'm with it. I am with it.
Okay.
Did we lose Nancy? Oh, there she is. Okay.
No, Nancy's here.
She has been eaten by her background.
Yeah.
She went to get Oreos.
I'm hungry.
Oreos.
We went to get Pepsi Peeps.
Yeah.
I gotta go
Too
put
much
these back,
talk-
or I'm gonna start eating them.
Too much talk of Oreos and things
She's
like
forcing
that.
she's forcing a marriage now of Peeps and Pepsi.
Oh my God, I have to put them back in the closet. I will eat them.
I will. I'm going to try them. I'm going to go get some Peeps and go get some Pepsi.
I'm going to try and make a Peeps cocktail for our next.
Wait,
Hey,
That's
right. We ought to circulate that, and that we ought to all have one.
A Peeps cocktail,
And and we can't taste it until we're all
like the little chick floating in the top of your martini glass.
I think the bunny would be better.
Oh yeah, we need the bunny.
okay.
the bunny comes out
Ear-
melted
ears-
from the alcohol.
Pepsi and Peeps are in this new container, right? But
Yeah.
I just had a remembrance of like, aren't there like food urban myths? Isn't Mentos and Coke a thing?
Yes.
it'll
Oh
blow
yeah,
up
and
in
myth
it.
Science experiment.
Not a myth.
Not a
Okay,
myth.
well, right. Okay, so that's a thing.
I
Diet Coke and
encourage you to
Mentos,
get your
yeah.
daughter to get a 2-liter bottle of Coke and a big thing of Mentos, set it in the living room,
No.
No.
and
I do have a large
combine.
backyard.
Pop rocks, and then Pop
Put it
Rocks
in
and
that
Coke was another
kitchen.
thing.
Put it in that kitchen and maybe it'll get all the stuff that's in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, Tim. I think next time we have to have Peeps cocktails.
I think, yes,
You
I
got to
think
come up with the
that's-
Okay.
recipe.
And
We all
everybody
fix
has
them.
to share their recipe for their Peeps cocktails.
Okay,
Yeah.
actually, Tim, we need to figure out how to have our own mugs because all of us are drinking. Shouldn't we have matching mugs? Wouldn't that be fun?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll have to.
Let's see how
I'll have to.
do that.
AV
Maybe
Swag
plug
is a.
Yeah.
Yeah,
AV
we'll have to see if
swag.
they
That's
can-
right.
AV Swag. They're
Yeah.
a sponsor of the higheredav.com website.
Yeah.
They
I believe.
are.
Nice plug.
If they're not a sponsor, they are a partner because you can get your Higher Ed AV.
I would totally.
If not, we've spent a lot of
Apparel there.
money at that store. All of
Yeah.
us.
We'll have
Yeah,
to
we
see about
gotta
some
figure that
AV
out.
Life glassware or something like
Yes,
that. You know, it's
yes.
just
Dark
everyone
chocolate.
needs to have what. So we need wine glasses and beer steins or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And coffee mugs too. I mean,
And
yeah.
coffee mugs.
Or koozies.
Well, you know what? We need Brewmate. Brewmate needs to sponsor us. That's well.
Yeah, Tim, you need to work a little harder on the
I
sponsor.
know. I gotta do more. I got my Brewmate.
Okay.
These are awesome. Like so.
How do
I'm
you spell
drinking my
brewmate? BREW?
BRU with the little dots over it. MAT.
Umlaut.
Yeah, that thing.
Are you like heavy metal? You.
Yeah. So for these 12-ounce cans, for a 12-ounce can, or virtual background.
Hold it in
Oh,
front of
see
your
now
face.
I'm about to
and so
do the.
we'll figure something
about
out for wine,
There we
I
go.
guess.
So yeah, so this has got this little like puck thing that I put in the freezer, and it keeps my beer cold. On top of it already being an insulated can. So,
Yeah.
and they make wine glasses, and as Erica was showing, and
You get them on Amazon? Or where? You have to go to
good
Brewmate.
question. I got mine as a gift,
Probably
so I don't.
Oh,
Amazon.
okay. I'll look them up.
Probably, yeah.
But Kim's
So we'll
going to
see-
look
we'll
up
see about
what's
we'll
a
see if we
starter
get them a
recipe
sponsor.
for Peeps. How many Peeps do you drown in 6 ounces of tequila or something like that?
Oh, and
I'm
they did
totally
actually. It's
going
funny.
to experiment with Peeps cocktails. I don't even like Peeps, but I just think it's kind of a funny challenge.
They would look
I
kind of
just
cute in a
Googled-
martini glass
I
sticking out,
totally
hanging
think
over.
so.
Google it. It's adorable. It's adorable. And some of them sound pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. There's
What?
a
You
marshmallow
Googled
peep
what?
Easter martini. I
Oh,
Googled
really?
Peeps cocktail. Just Google Peeps cocktail.
Oh, it's already a thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're in.
There's a
Okay.
strawberry
All right,
mudslide.
so that had to be in. So that had to be in like 2 weeks,
Okay.
or something like that. So
It gives you 2
we'll give
weeks
us-
to come up with your recipe.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah,
I'm
you got
gonna
you have
win.
yeah you have
It's
the
a
whole
contest.
holiday
I'm
section.
gonna win.
Yeah.
Just letting y'all
Well,
know now.
All right. Well, the
doubt it.
gauntlet has been laid down. Kim is declaring herself the winner ahead of time. So
I think we should share our recipes in advance so we can all taste them on the show.
That'd be great.
we could do that.
Yeah, and then we could have it. That'd be a good firing range. It's like, that
We'll
stinks.
have like
Ah,
10 different cocktails in front of us.
I believe we have RV tentatively scheduled for the 15th of April. So
yes,
15th.
So maybe we should, yeah. So that gives us, because I don't want to miss it. So we could that might be a good one for that episode.
Let's
and then
do it for RV. That's a fun idea.
We'll do it for RV. Okay.
There you go. Cocktails.
Speaking of drinks made out of candy, my hot chocolate tonight was actually Tootsie Roll flavored hot chocolate, and it was pretty good.
See, all back to my point of look at the things we're combining.
Yeah. All right.
Just saying.
It was a Keurig container. My daughter got a Keurig for Christmas, and a Keurig coffee maker, and so she has enjoyed making coffee because she's a grown-up person of maturity at age 12, and
12 going on 21.
So yeah. And but being 12, she discovered among the supplemental gifts around the Keurig coffee maker, there were also hot chocolate pods. So she has 2 to 4 hot chocolates a day now.
Wow.
And I told my brother, hey, this is what I was telling him the story of this. And I said, you should send her some fancy hot chocolate Keurig pods for her birthday, which is at the end of January. And so he did, and she was delighted, piled them all up and sorted them, and proceeded to drink none of them because they were weird and she wanted her Swiss. Yeah. So I'm like, I guess we have to plow through these enormous amounts of exotic, many of them candy flavored. Like there's a Tootsie Roll, Charles and Chew, other things. So like, it's a lot of hot chocolate to get there. She's like trying it now. Tries it a little bit.
Yeah.
So she's suspicious of new things.
All right. Well, all right. So we got our plan for one of our April episodes. So and yes, we do need to work on an AV Life meetup at Infocom, James. As long as we're all there, we will have to do that. So
I'd have to do a show from there.
Yeah, well, that Joe Way says he's got something in the works, so we'll see.
Well, like I told James, I replied to James's tweet earlier. I'm like, if I'm there, it might be because I'm there on my own. But
definitely.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
On my own.
Same. At this point, I'm willing to pay out of my own pocket to get down. And
let me know roommate situation.
Yes, and we could go to the airport together.
Right.
There you go.
If I have to pay, I'm all about doing whatever.
Well, I'm getting my first shot tomorrow. Well, Friday, as people are hearing this, so I will be 1 in. So we'll see.
Which flavor do you know?
I believe it's going to be the Moderna. So we'll see.
I've had Pfizer, and I get my second one on April 1st. And
no fooling, huh?
Yeah.
So the thing that Missouri didn't tell us, I went back through all the paperwork. The thing that they don't tell you, maybe it's just where I went, they required me to sit 15 minutes afterwards. I know it's like a thing sometimes there was not on any of the paperwork. And they're like, sometimes they do it for flu shots. And I'm like, I've never had to do that for a flu shot before.
Yeah.
So
I got my first one. I was required to sit 15 minutes as well.
I talked to I got a friend of mine that said that he usually doesn't get the flu shots. The reason being is that some of them have, I guess, some sort of an egg type of concoction in that, and apparently he has some serious reactions to some of those. So he was kind of concerned about which one. I got the Pfizer, but my mom's 87 and she got both of them, and she had a sore arm and she had a little bit of a headache, but that was the worst that she had. My wife had both of them, didn't phase her, either one of them. I've had other people tell me that the second one made them feel like they'd been run over by a truck.
It seems to be hitting different people differently, because I know people who got the Pfizer, both shots, no problem. And then other people who got the Pfizer, both shot, and the second one, they're like laid up for a day almost. So,
I was going to say, when I did the shingles shot, the first one was fine. The second one, I'm telling you what, for 24 hours, you could almost set your watch by it. I felt like I had the flu, but at the end of 24 hours, it was like somebody threw a switch and it was completely over. It was weird.
I'm hearing a lot like that on the Moderna. Like everyone I talk to, and again, everyone's different, so my pool is small, but so far everyone I talked to with the Moderna, the second shot, they had high fever, like they felt body aches, chills, and like you said, for like a day, and then all of a sudden nothing. They were completely fine. Tim, I love your hat.
Don't they look wonderful?
Yeah.
They're in season now.
Looks
finally,
good with the mustache and lipstick.
It's not virtual lipstick today, so I can't take it off.
hey, Renee, you need to get rid of that. That's just too hot.
Oh, yeah.
Tying back the hair. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it before we go any further down a road.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, Kim's like pushing like Jack Sparrow level right now. Like,
funny, you know, it's my male alter ego is a little Jack Sparrow, but I think it's actually closer to the guy who plays Klaus in the Umbrella Academy. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah.
You know him? Like, seriously, how much does male Kim Frank look like Klaus from Umbrella Academy?
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Wow.
James. Nancy, wake up.
I think she's enjoying her food a bit much over there. So
Yeah.
You got.
All right. Well, I'm gonna thank Erica for joining us tonight. One last time, let our listeners know how they can find you. And
yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is haircutfw, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Right now, I'm the Erica Williams in the bright orange shirt.
Are you going to have a new shirt for your new headshot photo thing today? What?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that in my current headshot, I have really short hair. So this is my current headshot for those of you that are watching. Yeah. And obviously, I don't look like that anymore. So
what shirt?
I used to have hair like that.
Did you have?
Right? What's that?
I said I used to have hair like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. My new one, it's a violet colored shirt. Deep violet.
There you go.
I like the color.
But thank you for having me. Honestly, this was a blast. I'm so glad I was finally able to make it.
It was great having you. So yes, and thank you to the crew, and thank you to all you for listening to us tonight. And until our next adventure.